20 tips for kindergarten teachers. In this video, I'm going to give you 20 tips to remember when teaching children at kindergarten. First, I will start with some more general information, so please check the description if you want to skip along. The first thing I'll say is that all teachers are different, all schools are different, and all students are different too. For that reason, there is no set pattern that works for all students or teachers. This guide is based off my personal experience as a teacher and should be taken with a grain of salt. When teaching at kindergarten, remember our students will eventually start to mirror our attitudes. So make sure you strike a nice balance between the authoritative figure that you have to be and the kind, thoughtful person that you want them to be. Try to think of your kids as small people rather than just students. Each of them has a personality with their own traits. They have things that they like and things that they don't like. It's up to us as teachers to recognize these things and to maintain the harmony in the classroom. Always be positive and encourage teamwork in your classroom. If you encourage children to help each other, you can relax more and can help the children become more independent too. Concentrate on rewarding for good behavior rather than punishing for bad behavior. As a kindergarten teacher, the most important thing above all else is your students' safety. Always remember this when doing any games or activities. I should also mention that this topic relates to your students' behavior too. If a student is harmed in your class because someone was misbehaving, then the responsibility falls on you and not the child who was misbehaving. For this reason, it's very important to remain the authoritative figure in the classroom. While at kindergarten, you are responsible for teaching right and wrong. Always explain things to the children and never shout unless it's to prevent an accident from happening. Remember that everything I am saying here is my own personal opinion and should not be taken as the be-all and end-all of this topic. What I am trying to say is, everybody wants to be the nice teacher, but you also have the responsibility of maintaining behavior in the classroom. If any viewers want to express their opinion of the things that I'm talking about, then please put them in the comments. Okay, so now I will give you 20 tips to remember when teaching English in an ESL kindergarten. Number 1. Be patient and take things slowly, especially at the beginning of the year. At the beginning, just help the children get used to your lesson patterns. Remember, you have the full year to teach them, so it's best to establish a good rapport with your kids at first. Once they are relaxed with you, then start to introduce more academic material. Do not feel that you have to rush into teaching them everything all at once. 2. Keep things simple and be consistent in the way you teach. Remember that children have to learn the way you teach as well as what you are teaching. What I mean by this is that the year before they may have had a different teacher, and that teacher's teaching style may be different to yours. So just give them a little bit of time to get used to it. 3. Build confidence. This is very, very important. Do not give them the answer all of the time, because they will start to rely on you and wait for you to give them the answer. 4. Model the answer. Help them along by giving them a clue. Try to elicit a response rather than just giving them the answer. For example, if you are teaching "I like pizza" or "I like cola," then model the answer first. You can start by introducing what you like. I like pizza. I like cola. I like chocolate. After that, you can practice together. 3, 2, 1. Ready, everybody? I like something. I like something. And just keep going and get the children used to it. After that, then you can practice. I like pizza. What do you like? Okay, so something along the lines of that. If you'd like to know more about this, then I can cover it in a different lesson. Number 5. Give praise for trying. Keep smiling and give lots of high fives. If your students are nervous, then try to move on quickly, but make sure to give them praise. 6. Encourage your class to praise the other students too. Receiving praise from a teacher feels nice, but it's even better when the student receives praise from his or her classmates. So encourage them to do so. If children shout out the answer, teach them how to elicit a response from the student, and soon you'll see them teaching rather than telling. 7. Use group chanting to reduce pressure or anxiety. When learning English, a lot of children can be shy or anxious. You can reduce this anxiety by repeating as a group. Because all students are chanting at the same time, it reduces the anxiety, and it also means that more students are speaking English. I will try to cover more chanting techniques in a separate video. 8. Choose students to speak in front of the class. This will create more focus in your classroom and build more confidence too. Using this technique helps the other students see that their friends can speak English. Be sure to make this fun, however, and not like a spelling bee. Try to keep it relaxed and fun, even if children make mistakes. Make sure to model what you are going to teach them first, so they have a head start. You might do this by practicing with one student first, and then inviting an extra student to take your place. When first introducing this technique, it might not go so well, but eventually your children will start to recognize what to do. This relates again to consistency. Keep doing the same pattern, and eventually the children will recognize what to do. 9. Speak clearly and slowly when teaching ESL English. Try to let them process your sentence and be patient. It may be necessary to leave longer gaps in between sentences. Use an understandable pace and limit the length of your sentences. Do not speak unnaturally, but make sure that they have enough time to process what you have said to them. 10. Try to use grammar and vocabulary that you have used in your lessons, and be consistent with the phrases that you use in your classroom. Expand on your vocabulary when you feel that your children are able to keep up. Try to remember that communication in the classroom is a helpful tool for review, even if you are eating lunch or playing outside during break time. 11. Warn your students when trying something new for the first time. Tell them when something may be difficult, and ask them if they're ready for a challenge. This way they can expect that what they're about to hear they may not understand, but that is all part of the challenge. A lot of children think that if the teacher is asking something, that they should know it. You can soften this anxiety by preparing them for a difficult task. I often introduce this concept by asking my students if they can swim or ride a bicycle. I asked them that when they were a baby, could they get in the water and swim the first time? Or could they get on their bicycle and just start riding it? The answer is always no. Riding a bicycle or swimming takes a long time to master, and English is the same, but as long as we try, we can get better. 12. When teaching grammar, try using simple vocabulary or words that they already know. If you are teaching vocabulary and grammar, it might be twice as difficult for the children to understand. If you use vocabulary that they already know, they will naturally gravitate towards paying more attention to the grammar of the sentence. 13. Do not force the children to answer in full sentences if they can't. Just praise them for trying and then model the full sentence yourself. A lot of schools I have taught at insist on the children answering in full sentences. But of course, in natural English, we don't. Definitely try to encourage the answering of full sentences, but do not force it. Children need to build up gradually, so don't expect too much of them with brand new topics. If it feels like the whole class is nervous, just repeat as a group, so no one feels singled out or is nervous. Remember, a native English speaker does not reply in full sentences either, so don't feel like the children have to answer that way all of the time. Learning English is difficult, so give your children space. 14. Teach the children that it is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to say the wrong thing sometimes, because the only way we can learn is by making mistakes. Trying is ultimately better than not trying at all. Just be sure to repeat the correct sentence yourself afterwards. You can teach the children it's okay to make mistakes by making mistakes yourself. You can do this by making a silly sentence. Something like, I eat cars. If the children are laughing, then it means that they understand the joke. It shows them that mistakes are okay too. Soon the children will try jokes themselves, maybe not even during the lesson. This can be frowned upon by some teachers because it's not smart to teach the wrong answer. But what it does do is help the children realize that making mistakes is okay. 15. Teach your students the phrase, I don't know. I don't know is a great get out of jail free card for the children. If they use the phrase, be sure to praise them and show the children that if they don't know, they can simply say, I don't know. It's also useful for the children to know this phrase because as a teacher, you may also use it. Children might ask you a question and you may not know either. 16. Remember that your class will contain stronger and weaker students. Children learn in different ways and different styles, so it is totally normal for your students to be of different abilities. Just be sure not to draw too much attention in the difference of ability in class. As a teacher, however, it is your responsibility to help all of the children as much as you can. Just because half of your class can give perfect answers does not mean that you are ready to move on to the next target. If stronger students seem bored, then ask them more advanced questions. But be sure to give your weaker students a chance to catch up to a standard level of understanding. Stronger and weaker is not a very nice word to use, but it's important to recognize that children learn at different rates. 17. Remember the things that interest you might not interest the children. Always make lessons with students in mind. As a teacher, you might like soccer, but that doesn't mean you should try and talk about soccer all of the time. Try to customize your lesson as much as possible to what the children like. If they can communicate things that they would actually like to communicate, then they are more likely to use their English. For example, this could be something simple like I like, and then you teach their favorite cartoon character or snack. They will enjoy saying their sentence more because it's more like communication rather than a soulless sentence pattern. 18. Keep your students active in the classroom. This is a big topic, so I'll try to cover it more in a different video. For now, remember that you should have lots of physical activities and games during your lesson. Make sure that your activities and games are split up in between the parts where children are sitting down. Make sure that if you are going to do a worksheet, you do it at the end of your lesson. This is because most children will not finish at the same time. 19. Use colour coding when writing on the board. When the children start to read and start to learn simple grammar, try to use colour coding. When teaching ESL students words like noun and verb, they are sometimes difficult concepts for the children to grasp. Instead of using these grammar definitions, usually I would write the subject in black, the verb in blue, and the noun in red. This helped the children see the grammar structure visually. Not only that, but in kindergarten, I would sometimes find myself asking the children, "Can you give me a blue word?" or "Can you give me a red word?" This means that the children don't have to think about what a noun is or what a verb is. At first, the children will make mistakes giving you nouns where the verb should be, or verbs where the noun should be, but eventually they start to recognize it. Remember that in some languages the word order is different, so showing them that visually can help them understand. Try it yourself. Ask your children to give you some blue words or some red words to see if they can do it. 20. Be consistent. As a teacher, you'll have many great ideas. Just be careful not to change the way that you do things all of the time. Try to minimize your teaching patterns in the classroom so that children can concentrate on what you are teaching rather than how you are teaching it. I already covered this topic at the beginning, but I wanted to stress it even more. Remember that if you introduce something a certain way, then you should do it consistently after that. Changing the way that you teach something can confuse a student, so if you have extra ideas, be sure to write them down and use them for next year. Okay, that's it. Those were my 20 tips for when teaching ESL English in kindergarten. If you have any advice yourself, please feel free to put that in the comments so that other teachers can read it too. I hope that these tips were helpful for you and your school. Please let me know if you have any questions and I'll try to answer them in the comments. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.